Hey YouTube land, this is Tyconders here doing another action figure review. Now this is something I generally don't tend to review on my channel that much, even though I have a really big collection of them, and it's the Hasbro G.I. Joe line. I'm not sure why I don't review more of them. I have so many of them. Maybe it's just the fact that getting all their accessories back together, because I have like the figures in one pile, the accessories are all mixed all over the place. Getting them all back together is a bit of a nightmare, but for this figure, it is the Joe Club subscription service, or fan subscription service figure for the Z-Force character codenamed Jammer. Now, he comes in this kind of standard G.I. Joe card back. So you have the G.I. Joe logo up top, you have Joe Club exclusive in the right hand corner, and then you have an artwork, and this is a new artwork for the character. I'll get into that in a minute. And then you can see he has his stand back. Unfortunately, I have nothing to hold it up with, so I'm using this thing. And then you got on the back, you got another image of the same, another shot of the same artwork. And then you have basically a file card, which says his file name is Calvin Mondale. His specialty is communications engineer. His secondary military specialty is electronic warfare, and his birthplace is New York City, New York, which I find kind of hilarious because he has a Union Jack on his shoulder, and it's kind of interesting because back in the day, the original Z-Force characters and all the Action Force figures were all European based. They weren't. I don't think. I'm feeling. I don't think he was U.S. or American. I think he was actually a British or a European, birthplace on his original file card. I could be wrong, but I know there was him. He came the original version of him, which was basically a Stalker, G.I. Joe Stalker O-Wing repaint of the very first version of Stalker in these colours, which is why this guy's pretty much made from parts of Stalker, but again I'll kind of go into a small bit of that. So a brief bit of the history behind the figure is he was packed exclusively with the headquarters HQ for Z-Force, and what the Z-Force HQ was basically they got the Action Force, I think it was the 1984, I could be wrong, 1985 headquarters, the big grey one, or silver grey one that has like the kind of garage section, the jail section, and kind of main compound part, and they basically repainted that in this green with black camo colours and had Z-Force logos on it. Now I do have that. Unfortunately, I don't have it easily at hand to be able to set up and do the review with him in it, but I do have that that base. I did have the figures for it, the exclusive figures, because there was two exclusive repaints of American G.I. Joe figures with it, and that was a repaint of Gung Ho, and he was codenamed Gaucho, and I think he was Mexican if I remember correctly. So, or he was Spanish. I'm not sure if he was Mexican or Spanish, but he was kind of that. He darker tan color than the regular version of Gung Ho. He still had like all the same tooling. He looked exactly the same. He had the open shirt with the kind of, I think instead of having the Marine logo on the shirt, he had something else on his chest, because the original Gung Ho had a Marines, the Marine tattoo logo on his chest, whereas Gaucho didn't. He had I think he had a different one. Then you had Jammer, which is this guy, which was a repaint of, as I said, the first version of Stalker. So, like, unfortunately, the first version of Jammer didn't have the proper kind of ball joint neck. He only had the swivel head, which is what the original version of Jammer did have. He didn't have like all the stuff. So, brief history aside, onto the figure itself. So he comes with a few interesting accessories. He comes with a reproduction of Dial Tone's backpack, hence the communications gear. Predominantly this figure's just a repaint of different G.I. Joe parts. So the head is from one of the newer versions of Stalker, which it was the, I think he started off as the convention exclusive Tiger Force one, and then he was repainted as another version of Stalker. It was the oh, I can't remember, but I know I have the Tiger Force version of it, which he reuses this head because it has the removable beret. I don't think it started off as the 50th version of Stalker, because the 50th version was the ponytail one, the one with the kind of dreadlocks. Then you have this communications device in his pocket, which I think, if I remember correctly, came with, I think I got one with Lowlight, the 50th anniversary version of Lowlight, but in grey. So his arms, I believe, or sorry, the waist and body and legs all come from the 25th anniversary version of Zap. So he has the same hips. The lower legs were actually reused before. I can't remember who came with them originally. I think it might have been Clutch had these originally. And then they reused them for Zap, because they have the kind of more longer boot with the kind of armor pieces going, or the kind of, it looks like more like an armored piece along the side of it. And these arms, if I remember correctly, they originally started off as I know they were used for the Cobra Trooper, for the 30th anniversary Cobra Trooper. I think they started off as Snake Eyes arms, or it could have been someone else, but the arms are off them, and the torso is off the old 25th. As I said, I think it's pretty much the Zap figure that came with, was it the Assault on Cobra Island came with Zap, because he didn't come on a card on his own, but I think he might have had a retooled, or at least a newer version of the kind of basic body sculpt. So that is where that part comes from. They also reuse this same body, not the arms, but the same body sculpt for the dollar store version of Duke. That came in grey, and I think he also came in green. So it has pretty much been around for a while. And then, if I remember correctly, this rifle, I think it first came with the Retaliation Joe Trooper. Yeah, I think it's first debuted in the Retaliation line anyway. His pistol, I'm not too sure. I don't think it was originally the one that came with Zap, because it has a hard time staying in the holster. I think the one that came with Zap was actually slightly larger. I think this pistol was a different one. And as I said, it comes with the dial tone style backpack. So, and then just for height comparison, hope I didn't waffle on too much. He does, just bring my stand a little over 4 inches. And for articulation, he has the standard kind of 25th articulation. So you have ball joint shoulders, can go all the way around, single jointed elbows. He has more than the standard 25th anniversary. He has the kind of 50th anniversary articulation with the extra hinge in the wrist and swivel. He does have an ab crunch, but it's kind of tight. He does have forward and a small bit back on the legs. He has the dual knees, and he has foot swivel and foot forward and back. Now, the left foot on mine is a little loose. The right foot is actually very tight, but it's just more than likely from the mold degradation or the mold reuse. And then you have his head is on a ball joint and can look left and right. Well, can do 360. And then he has a peg hole on the back for plugging in the backpack. I will note that you need to kind of push this harness piece out of the way just to get it into the backpack. But other than that, he's pretty cool. As I said, I had the original version of him, which was basically a reuse of the Stalker mold, and I always loved the colour scheme. Now this one is a slight bit, from my memory, it's a slight bit duller green. I remember I have a vague recollection of the green they used on the original Jammer was a lot brighter. But overall, I think he's a really cool rendition. There is 2 other figures that the club have done as a nod to the Z-Force, which is the Z-Force captain called Skip. Again, it's another reuse of parts, and they also did a version of Gaucho, which is a reuse of the 50th anniversary Gung Ho, just in the same colours that Gaucho originally came with. So he had like a bright orangey red with waistcoat or kind of jacket type thing, and then he had the greens for the Z-Force colouring, and then he had like I can't remember what, I think his cap was green. I could be wrong. I know he had I can't remember what colour they had coloured the baseball cap that he normally wears, or the not the baseball cap, but the kind of military cap that he normally wears, but it was a different colour than the standard Gung Ho. But all in all, it's a really good figure. I do recommend picking him up. The only thing I will say that he is kind of pricey to pick up on the secondary market. It is kind of hit and miss. A lot of the club exclusive stuff goes for silly money. Some of the more rarer ones go for really silly money. Stuff like Big Boa and the more recent repaint of Big Boa, which was Kangu or something like that. I think it was like a nod to one of the Brazilian repaints of Big Boa. And the female characters tend to go for ludicrous money as well, like CoverGirl, and I think the Z-Force. Actually, sorry, there's a Z-Force version of Scarlet, which was named Quarrel as well. She was also a club exclusive that they did a repaint of. She originally started off as a Scarlet repaint that was cancelled and never released, and then the G.I. Joe Club decided to release her as an exclusive for themselves. So there is a brief history on some G.I. Joe stuff, whether or not you're anyway interested in it. So there you go, guys. Quick history or quick review, I hope, of Jammer, the communications officer from Z-Force. As I say in my videos, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Cheers, guys.